She's a conservative and I'm liberal, and yet we've been friends for almost 40 years. Everyone says you shouldn't discuss politics, religion, or money. And we say that's exactly what friends should be talking about. Join us as we tackle the conversations you're having in your head but are too scared to say out loud. Welcome to We've Got to Talk, and welcome, Jolene.
Hello, Nicole. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to our listener and our viewer. I think we've all seen and heard and read about what's happening in Minneapolis. There's been real harm. There's been real anger. There's been real disagreement. And we're not here to convince anyone of how they should feel about this. We're going to talk about when moral certainty replaces conversation. And why that might feel good, it's going to leave us stuck. So we are going to disagree on how this situation got to this point and how it's evolved and where we are right now. But that's the point, is that we disagree, and we've got to have a way to talk to each other about this, because this moral absolutism that is in, that we're such a part of right now is going to get us nowhere. And if you've learned anything about Nicole and I and on this show, we've got to talk. We've got to be able to talk about how we feel. We've got to talk about how the other person is disseminating information. And if we dig our heels in and say, this is what I think, and if you disagree with me, you're a bad person and you can stop following me or stop friending me or whatever, that gets us nowhere. That does nothing for us. And so I'm hoping that this is a way that we can talk to each other. And I hope you, listener and viewer, will take the time to also listen to us and listen to each other.
Girl, listen, I had no idea what you were going to say. And I'm so glad I didn't know when you said, should I tell you ahead of time? And I said, no. We talk to each other, you and I, Jolene, since this podcast started pretty much every day, if not through text or whatever. And for better, for worse, since we've been doing this podcast, news has broken out basically every 2 seconds all day long. So we end up texting and talking and sending each other articles all day, every day. And to give you guys context, this will be airing Wednesday, February 4th. It is right now Thursday, January 29th at 5 p.m. Eastern. And last weekend was when Alex Preddy was shot and killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis. And that Sunday after the shooting, Jolene and I were recording a different episode. And before we started the record, I looked at my friend Jolene, and she didn't look okay. And I said, hey, are you okay? And she said, I'm so sad about Minneapolis. And I said, I am so sad about Minneapolis too. And at the time, I said, we had prepped something else. And I said, should we forget it and talk about Minneapolis? And Jolene, I felt like you were really smart that you said, you know what? Let's wait. Let's wait a couple days because we don't have enough information. And I thought that was incredibly insightful of you. And I'm so grateful for you that we waited because of what unfolded, even though I think today, yes, we might talk about some facts, but we're mostly going to talk about listen to each other, how we're feeling about all this, how we can move forward together. Jolene and I want to move forward together, and we want our country to move forward together.
Absolutely. And I think, just to start off, I think anybody who had knee-jerk reactions to Alex Preddy's killing was wrong, because nobody knew the facts. And so for Kristi Noem to say that he was going out there, a terrorist,
a domestic terrorist,
right? I think she called Renee Good a domestic terrorist.
I'm sorry.
I think she said that but whatever. I mean, the fact is, she came out guns a-blazing. No pun intended. Trump said some things. Fry said some things.
Miller said some
Tim Walz
things.
said things. Stephen Miller. I mean, and who was the voice of reason? We talked about this.
Yes.
The voice of reason was Tom Holman, who, after the Renee Good killing, said, can we all just pause here and let's not try to be the first one to a microphone and get, this rage out and for clicks and for comments, and because we all know that's what sells. We've said it 100 times. We all know it. But that doesn't do us any good to solve the issue.
Like Holman was saying, let the investigation unfold.
Right.
Let's just
trust
the process, let it unfold.
I think people need to decide right now. Do they want to solve the issue, or do they just want to keep the rage going? Because those are our choices right now.
There's so many feelings about all of this. I watched the Tom Holman press conference this morning. Did you have a chance to look at that?
I did not.
Okay,
no,
I know you were
it.
working. I was struck by several things, and I'd like to share some of them.
Yeah, I want to hear about it.
One thing that I noticed that was so obvious, it was dead silent in the room. There was clearly many press. You couldn't hear a peep. You could not hear a pin drop. And he was also very quiet and very calm. It was a very different energy than what we've been used to. Now, I don't agree with most of what Tom Holman believes, but I can listen to someone who's calm. And I wanted to listen to someone that was calm, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. And he talked about how he had very good conversations with Jacob Fry and with Governor Walz. And he said, and we didn't agree on a lot, but we did agree that public safety was of the utmost importance. I guess when he was sent there, he got a little bit of pushback from his colleagues on the right, saying, why are you going to talk to them? This us and them thing we've done for how long? Yeah. And he says, quote, you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions.
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
Here's Tom Holman. Tom Holman, liberals, I know, saying, I came here to seek solutions. He said, everyone agreed that community safety is paramount. I'm just going to highlight a couple things that I did agree with. He did say he wants to go more targeted, but he also has said, and he wants to work with local, state and local officials and jails to deal with the criminal element that one reporter asked, so does that mean you're not going to go after people that don't have a criminal record? And he said they broke the law. So he wasn't saying, and he said, listen, and I might not agree with it, but this was something that I thought was interesting. He said, if we give the message that it's okay to be here when you broke the law, it won't fix the problem. Now, I might not agree with it, but I also went, okay, I understand why you think that. And that's, again, what We've Got to Talk is about. I pull myself out of my own stuff and I go, okay, I'm going to listen to you, Tom Holman, and try to understand where you, as a lifelong ICE law enforcement person, what you've seen, what you've experienced, and what you believe. And I'm just going to hold the space and listen. And he said that he begs for the hateful rhetoric to stop. He said, I don't want anyone to die. The protesters, the ICE agents, the people in custody, I don't want anyone to die anymore. And what I appreciated is what he said, because he has been in the ICE agency for 6 administrations. So it's not just Trump. One thing that I did appreciate, Jolene, was what he said was, we aren't trying to take your First Amendment rights away. Protesters, please protest peacefully and protest Congress.
Yeah, right.
Congress signed into law why ICE exists. We can debate till the end of time, and I actually think we wouldn't even debate. There are a lot of stories about like how ICE has been since 2003, right? And so all the administrations have used ICE to deport people that are illegal migrants. The way it's being done currently, I think there's a turning point that liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats are going, whoa, 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 whoa. This is not okay. We can't start killing people on the street who are protesting. From stuff that I've been reading, there are like new agents that the old agents are saying. There was one quote, they were like, the new agents are idiots. They don't know what they're doing. Like, there's clearly not as much training, and they're making the old agents look bad because they have been doing this, have had lifelong careers. And the second video came out yesterday where Alex Preddy had gotten into an altercation 11 days before he was killed. That was already sort of known that he'd broken his rib, but we hadn't seen it. And I have a couple thoughts about that, Jolene. One, I'm not excusing that behavior. Kicking a taillight in a federal car and spitting at agents is not okay. And he should have been arrested. You're not allowed to do that, no matter how angry you are, no matter how upset you are. It's against the law. You can't do that. And so, that being said, that video doesn't give a person, that doesn't excuse him or make it okay that he was killed. Right. And we as humans, we are so ready, and this is not a liberal conservative thing, we are so ready to make people the heroes or the demons, always. So even when we see the first video where he helps this poor woman that has been pushed, and then we find out he's a nurse and he works with veterans, and I know both you and I, like, we were so heartbroken. You're thinking, oh my God, this is this really great person. And yeah, he had qualities of a really great person. And then you see yesterday this video where people are demonizing him, and you saw an ugly part. He was mad. He destroyed federal property. He spit at people. That was a very bad day. And that person can be both.
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like that is something that I wrote in my notes and I think I even sent you a Instagram from Basic Optimism, is a handle on Instagram that said, can we acknowledge that two things can be true at once?
Yes.
And that we can believe that securing our borders and deporting criminals that are here illegally is a good thing, at the same time believing that ICE needs more training and they need to de-escalate situations. You can believe that ICE agents are in dangerous situations and believe also that no one deserves to die.
Yes.
I mean, like this, again, this absolutism that we have framed as belonging, making us belong to our parties because we feel like we don't want to betray our party. We want to belong to something so badly that we're going to espouse all of those beliefs, forget about how we feel personally. Let's just align with our party because that's how we should think. That is going to get us into trouble. It is. It has. It has happened. I think that everything up to this point that has happened on both sides, like at this point, we make decisions. And we make decisions to start talking to each other. I'm so glad that Tom Holman said that, because it's like, okay, now we've got to fix it. So...
and he did say, he was like, it's not been perfect. He said, we can do better. We can do better. I mean, it's so simple. Sometimes the way he goes about things I don't agree with, but I also just listened to him and for a moment thought, okay, what has this person seen? What has he experienced? Why does he believe that we need to do this? We've forgotten our humanity, and I find that chilling. Even if you, as a Republican, listen, I don't care what you are. You could be a liberal Democrat and say, I don't believe people should be here legally. And actually, I don't believe people should be here illegally. I don't. Do I think that the system is totally broken and that we need to fix it? Yes. Do I believe that would I like it to go like a more gentle touch? Yes, I would. I also am aware that we as human beings, citizens or not, we all kind of push the boundaries sometimes. I personally, because I'm a kind of rule follower, I wouldn't feel okay being in this country. I think it's got to be incredibly terrifying if you've made that choice to overstay your visa or whatever your story is. But we all speed. A lot of us drank underage. I just really hope we could start to untangle this mess. Like you sent me that clip of Obama, which we can put in the show notes, which is incredibly insightful because he also believed that you shouldn't come here illegally. Now, circumstances, some things happen, and I think that there are bigger pieces at play. I think Stephen Miller has his own agenda that is not even Trump's, and those quotas are real. I think that's put DHS into a panic, and I think that's why they've hired people, newer agents that are not trained. They get them out in the field. I mean, there's just a lot of mess, and I also think that this like lefty thing that the conservatives are told, all the protests they're more violent or more angry, more physical. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I get that people are really frustrated and feel so betrayed, but that doesn't work.
I liked how the chief of police in Chicago said that, came out and said that ICE agents are law enforcement. We can't become a society where we take things into our own hands and commit crimes against law enforcement. Like, let's start there and say, to your point, protest, absolutely protest. But when you start fighting and spitting and doing, when these protests become violent and you interfere with this law enforcement strategy, now you've crossed the line. So again, I get why you're angry, but you know what? Contact Congress. These people, these ICE agents are doing their jobs, and they're doing their jobs that they have done for 20 years. And so,
some of them,
are they going about it the right way?
Right.
No.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
I mean, we understand. I think everybody would agree with that there have been some really bad circumstances. I was so angry at Tim Walz and Jacob Fry for saying, come on, everybody, get out there. Like they were encouraging this, get in their faces and videotape. I mean, I just felt like they were inflaming the tensions instead of trying to, help. And
yeah, I mean,
so,
I have to say, Jolene, I agree with you in terms of maybe they felt as frustrated because Trump didn't come to the table until now. That he was very resistant and also calling names. And so there was a back and forth of sort of hate and bad behavior on both sides. And then this is sort of an interesting perfect storm that happened last weekend where, I don't know if you heard about and all the stuff we listen to and read, but last weekend was an interesting time for this to happen too, because Trump is usually in Mar-a-Lago or somewhere else on the weekends, or he's traveling but he happened to be in D.C. He was in D.C. for the Melania documentary that was going to premiere. And because he was in D.C., he was watching the news all day. So he saw the shooting, and he saw all of the coverage, and he was flipping channels. And even Fox's Trey Grady and Maria Bartiromo, all these people were pushing back from what Noam was saying. She had called him a terrorist of some sort, or that he went to attack, and that all these reporters, including his Fox, who normally sides with him, is like, wait a minute. And so that was a kind of a wake-up call for Trump to say, and he was supposedly very upset because he's like, hold on a second, I want to be known for what I've done. The southern border is closed, and very few people are coming across the border, and now this is what is going to happen. Like, this is what's being shown, and it's a bad look. I mean, these are my words, but it's a bad look. And it sort of forced him in a way to be like, okay, I've got it, without being told by, because of course he doesn't like anyone to tell him what to do. But he was like, you know, Holman's in, Bovino's out, Bovino's out, and he got on the phone with Frey and Walls, and all of a sudden the language got quieter and more constructive. And I'm saying that I think it's on both sides. I don't think it's just Trump. I don't think it's just Walls and Frey, but they were just like, again, we've said this like 1,000 times, but acting like children, not like adults in the room with a very complicated conversation and a complicated problem to solve. And like you said, Jolene, we have become so divided. Like, we're not even whole humans anymore with all of our stories that make us who we are. It is, you must believe this or you must believe that. I don't know what this is going to sound like, but I want to say it.
Okay.
I've protested a lot of my life, and I believed in America. I believed in freedom of speech. I believed that that was my right to protest peacefully. I think there's some white privilege and arrogance that I find shocking, that we think it's okay that we should beat up someone that's armed. I think it's really nuts. They have a gun, and they can kill you, and they do. And now they do. They have. And I don't know if it's white people feeling like we've never been in this position, and only people of color have to worry about that kind of thing. I know I will get pushback as a liberal and as a Democrat, but I think it's absolutely crazy and irresponsible for anyone to say, go out into the streets. Go out into the streets, but don't get in the way of a car or a person with a gun. Are you a Superman? Are you a superhero? No, you're a human being. In these situations, people's senses are so heightened. There is no logic going on here. The ICE agents are scared. The protesters are scared. They're armed. You're not. Maybe you are. I mean, what?
Alex Peretti was.
He chose not to use the gun. But what's happening here? Like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? I know that you think that you're being a hero, but you're not being a hero.
Right.
Go to Congress. The Congress is not doing their job. We've said it a bazillion times, both Jolene, conservative, Christian, Republican, Nicole, liberal, Democrat, believes in I don't know what. But you know, we both believe, we know that Congress is there for a reason, and we are not asking our Congress to do its job.
If ICE has been doing this for 20 years, why are we just now protesting what they're doing?
Well, it's the way they're doing it, Jolene. I mean, you would say that too.
Right, but USA Facts said that the most deportations that are happening right now are in Texas. And Minnesota is like one of the lowest states with the amount of illegals in it.
Do you mind saying undocumented immigrants? Could we say that? They have
Okay.
broken the
All
law.
right.
I respect that. I absolutely respect that. They are in this country and they broke the law. It's this kind of rhetoric that I'm hoping that we, you and I, can.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I get that. But isn't that interesting? Because that's what that clip that I sent you, that's what Obama's called them. So like we could call them.
I mean, I see what you're saying too. It's just.
Right. And now that has changed because are we trying to desensitize? Again, why are we changing the vernacular, and we're changing why is that happening now?
I think the United States under Trump, when he started going down that escalator in 2015, he's created a culture, and we've talked about this before, where it's okay to say kind of hateful things about anyone. He makes it really easy to dehumanize people. And I think I can understand how some of this politically correctness is super annoying. And it's like, really? But I think we are so divided that the left thinks they're the humans and the right thinks they're the humans. And I think you and I are here to say that we're all the humans in all of our ugliness and all of our beauty. We are all human. And I think when it comes to the immigrants that have crossed the border illegally and have overstayed or stayed or lived here without becoming citizens, we as a culture have made it really easy to make them seem less than human.
So, okay, so let me ask you,
Yeah.
are the presence of sanctuary cities, because so what I was getting to by saying that, but why has it escalated to this point? I believe it's escalated to this point because we have sanctuary states and sanctuary cities that are not cooperating with ICE. And so you see this escalation happening in these areas where if ICE could go in and work with the local law enforcement and they say, we've arrested this guy for armed robbery, and here he is, and he is an undocumented worker or an undocumented
Migrant.
Let me add that to my migrant.
Okay.
And he would be turned over, and then that process would take place. What's happening in Minneapolis is they're not cooperating. And so then ICE is having to go out and find these people, and it's taking, instead of a one-on-one transaction as it would be, ICE would go into the local jail, get him and take care of him or her. Now they're having to have 8 people go find this person.
That's what Tom Holman was saying.
That's how it's escalated.
Tom Holman was saying that in the conference this morning, was that they are working with local and state officials and the jails to try to make it a more one-on-one targeted situation. He was like one agent to one person.
How do you feel about sanctuary cities?
When Trump was first elected in term 1, and he was doing this Muslim ban, I was right out of the gate. And I remember New York being a sanctuary city, and we protested. I actually brought Josh. He'd never been to a protest. He must be magic because it was resolved that day. I was like, I've never,
He's the reason.
No, we were out in Brooklyn, and it was so wild because he's like, okay, I'll go. And then these lawyers came out and they're like, we've got it signed and he can't do this. And I was like, I have never in all my years been at a protest where it literally, that moment, there was some resolution right there. But I remember thinking, gosh, I am so glad that I'm in a city that wants to protect its citizens.
But what if they're non-citizens?
Well, that's the thing, is that, as Tom Holman was talking today, I really don't want anybody else to get hurt. And I could logically understand what he was saying, he was hoping to get cooperation. And there's still talks to be had. I know Frey has given some pushback, but I think that there's more talks. I don't think that the door hasn't been closed. And so I think they're trying to figure out a way to de-escalate the situation. And Tom Holman in the press conference today said, yes, if we get cooperation, we will pull troops out. And he said, and yes, I just said that. We will. And so
Great.
I hear what you're saying, Jolene, because the Democrats need to take a good hard look at this situation. And this, again, I know it's a strange tangent, but here we are, the United States of America, and mostly it seems conservatives are really into states' rights, usually more than Democrats talk about states' rights.
Yeah.
And conservatives tend to talk about states' rights, the hot topics that we have noticed or we have talked about, abortion and guns. Like it's a state, let the states do their thing, da-da-da-da-da. And yet here we are, and these sanctuary cities are in blue states. And so what are the states' rights in this situation? And I don't have that answer because I'm not a lawyer and neither do you.
Well,
but
I would say, though, not all sanctuary cities are in blue states. I mean, I'm just thinking of like Ohio and Pennsylvania. I mean, some of the Rust Belt states, if you had, I don't know that you could call them blue states. They're probably purple states. Georgia would be another one, like Atlanta.
I guess. I would think that most sanctuary cities are in blue states, wouldn't you, for the most part?
Yeah.
Let's see. No, Atlanta does not identify as a sanctuary city. But I guess to your point, Jolene, is that how do we resolve this? How do we resolve this if the federal government has this ICE law enforcement agency who has been, it has been passed by Congress to enforce the law, and in this case, like we're not in the secret meetings or the conversations with any of these people. But if Tom Holman is saying what he means and means what he says, and at this moment I'm going to try to give him some grace and say, okay, he's going to try to come in and find a solution. If the leaders of that blue state and that blue city say no, then what? Just no?
Right. I think, like, how does that,
no?
Again, then we have a conflict, right? I mean, how can you, and I guess I don't understand on a legal basis how you can have a sanctuary city. Like, are you not upholding the laws of the nation harboring undocumented migrants?
Thank you, Jolene.
See what I did there?
I do.
Did you see what I did there?
A sanctuary city is a municipal or local jurisdiction that adopts policies to limit its cooperation with federal immigration authorities. There is no legal definition, and specific policies vary widely, but the general principle is to prioritize local public safety and community trust by separating local policing from federal civil immigration enforcement. Well, what's interesting there is that right now public safety is not safe.
Yeah.
For anyone.
Right.
I'm going to give some more grace. For the ICE agents, it's not safe. And for the people protesting, it's not safe. And for the people that are illegal, now I'm saying illegal, undocumented migrants, it's not safe. Like, it's not safe. So this says that there's an estimate of 150 to 600 cities and counties in the United States.
That are sanctuary cities?
That's what they say. That's what they say.
I just want to go back to something that you said about you don't want anyone else to get hurt. I think if we go back to the basic premise of what Trump said at the very beginning, that he was going after the worst of the worst, and that he was going after the undocumented migrants that were criminals, had a criminal history either in their own country or since they've been here. I mean, wouldn't everybody agree with that? As a Democrat, would you agree?
I would agree with that.
So,
I mean,
right. So I think that's not I don't think that is a partisan issue.
That part isn't. I mean, I looked up, believe it or not, I went to the Cato Institute, which is a far-right libertarian think tank, and they did a study on how many, and this was October of 24. No, I'm sorry. October of 25, on how many undocumented migrants had a criminal record, and only 5% had a criminal record. And the rest had no record at all. Like they were just living here illegally, which is, I understand, is breaking the law. And you might ask, what are the others? But it was vice, property, other things that could be that they had broken the law with, but not something violent. Violent criminals were 5%. But I do believe, and I don't know if you're going to push back on this or not, that Stephen Miller scares me more than anyone. He has the president's ear, and he has been pushing for quotas and pushing for numbers. And I think that's also why it has been much more erratic and much more like going into houses without warrants and things like that. I don't believe that Holman isn't going to stop deporting people that don't have criminal records. I don't think that he's going to let them off the hook at all. But I do think, and I would agree with you, I don't know many people, I don't know. I've not met them. A liberal Democrat that says, yes, I want to keep a violent criminal here.
Okay, so because that would be the argument that conservatives would make, and maybe not just conservatives, but that what we're doing is we're making sure that people don't get hurt. That 5% of the violent criminals, that they're not hurting the Laken Rileys and go through all of the victims of crimes that were perpetrated by a undocumented migrant. So I think that would be the goal. Obviously, that's the goal of Republicans and Democrats, is that no one else gets hurt. How do you actually apply that to the real world? And I keep going back to the fact that if we have law enforcement that can't even talk to each other and work with each other, isn't that where we start?
Because I would think so. I think that's where you would start.
That seems like a super easy thing to do.
I think that's
another thing. When you start talking about Stephen Miller, it makes me think of last weekend. Supposedly Trump had a meeting with Kristi Noem in his office, and that Stephen Miller was not invited to that meeting. It was a 2-hour meeting, and you think, okay, maybe Stephen Miller is in his ear a little too much, and he said, nope, I want to handle this one by myself.
I heard that too, and I also heard there was some backstabbing with Miller and Noem. I mean, I think.
Well, there is no love lost between Tom Holman and Noem.
I learned that this week.
Maybe some cooler heads are prevailing.
I don't know.
Here.
I mean, I know that people want Noem to be fired. Certainly on the left, they want her to be fired. And there's some people on the right that want her to be fired as well. And I am just going to echo what I think a lot of people journalists have said, that I don't think he's going to, at least not right now, because you can't tell him what to do. Like, he'll do what he wants to do it when he wants to do it. And he's not going to he's not going to be pressured by anybody but his own mind.
But he also wants to look like the hero.
Yes, he does.
So, I mean, he may make some moves.
Do you think he might?
I don't know, because I don't know enough about that position. Director of Homeland Security that would, I don't know if she's doing her job. I'm not a fan of hers just because I think she's a narcissist and I don't like the way that she conducts herself. Right. So I don't know. I'm not qualified to say that she should be fired or not. What I do know is I don't like the way that she conducts herself in public, and I also don't agree with her, again, making these knee-jerk reactions at the second that something happens, and trying to change or trying to set the narrative for the story so that then turns out to be false. Because then you look like an idiot, and
I mean,
it's not healthy.
And, I don't even know what Antifa is. I truly don't. To me, it's made up. And I know it's a big thing on the right, and I have no idea what it is. And like I said, I've been to many protests and been a liberal my whole life. And I'm sure that there's some right-wing things that you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And when I see how emboldened and the amount of crap that we are all getting in our feeds that is so far left and so far right, like on the fringe, and we have normalized it, everybody. And most of us are not even close. We don't even know what it is. And so you say, we don't live with each other anymore. Our Congress doesn't live with each other, and neither do we. Our cities have become so much more left and so much more right that most people don't have a conservative friend or a liberal friend. I have noticed that more conservatives have liberal friends, but liberals don't have conservative friends. And I think that's a bummer. And I think that is it's a detriment to our society, because if you actually get curious and talk to people, you're going to find that, like Monica Guzman says, if somebody says something that you really don't agree with, you can very gently ask them, how come you feel that way? I'm really curious about that. And maybe they'll tell you something that you're like, wow, of course you think that way. That makes sense. I might not agree, but I'm not here to change your mind. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yep. Right. And it goes back to this moral absolutism.
Exactly, Jolene.
That if you don't fully agree with me, then you're not just wrong, you're immoral. It goes back to those people that said after Trump was elected, if you're a Trump voter, unfriend me right now. Now it's happening in Minneapolis. If you think that if you support ICE, we are no longer friends. Delete me right now. And I'm just going, don't make these statements that don't give any room for discussions, because every policy that has ever been written started with people having a conversation, and they probably disagree.
That's right. I mean, this country was built on disagreement. It was built on disagreement, and
conversations produce actions.
That's right.
And so if we just want to, stand there and go, nope, I don't like ICE, and so I don't like you if you like them.
And here's the thing. I don't know anyone that likes what happened last weekend. I don't care what your politics are. No one thinks that it is okay that man was shot to death. That's not a liberal thing. That's not a conservative thing. That's not a Democrat thing. That's not a Republican thing. We want law enforcement to be trained well. We want them to protect us, and we want to feel safe in our community and feel safe to exercise our First Amendment safely. You guys, you can't fuck around. If people have guns, don't get in their faces.
Right.
And that doesn't make you less of a patriot or less of a protester.
Right.
You stand in your feet, and you shout and scream, and you say what you need, and you respect the law. You might not agree with it. Write your congressperson, write your senator, vote new people in. Seriously, that's what this is for. That's what government is for. And God bless you for trying but don't be stupid. You're not bulletproof. Just take care of yourself, take care of your fellow people. And also, I understand that what's going on with ICE right now, with their face covered and they're all militarized, they look frightening. They don't look approachable. That makes sense. We all just need to
de-escalate. Yeah.
We can't move forward if we don't talk to each other.
Yes.
I think this is an important thing to share with you, Jolene, and it's funny that I didn't, and I don't know why I didn't share it with you a couple weeks ago when it happened. But I had someone reach out to me on my personal LinkedIn, and it's a very long letter that I'm not going to read.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But I want to read a part of it to share with you and with our listener and viewer. So she says, I am an immigrant in the United States, and over time, I've realized that there is a part of our reality that people who are born here rarely get to see. The life of an immigrant in practice is very different from what appears in public debates. Most people work extremely hard, pay taxes, avoid any kind of trouble, and live with a constant fear of making a mistake. It's not about, quote, taking advantage, unquote. It's about surviving, contributing, and trying to build some stability, often in silence. The greatest cost of immigration is what gets left behind. Families separated, parents far from their children, children far from their parents, missed birthdays, illnesses experienced from a distance. The decision to leave is almost never light. It comes with guilt, longing, and silence. When we arrive here, many people accept jobs far below their education or professional experience. Qualified people cleaning houses, working in heavy construction, doing jobs that few want to do, not because of lack of ability, but because that is the available path to survive and keep going. It's also important to say something that is rarely acknowledged. We, as immigrants, do not agree with people who come here to live off others, exploit the system, or avoid contributing. That exists just as it exists in any society, but it does not represent the majority. The problem is that we are often all labeled based on the behavior of a few, and that label erases honest stories and real-life paths. None of this is easy to live with, but it is what drives many of us to keep going, to work hard, and to try to be better every day, not only for ourselves, but for those we left behind. For many people, immigration is not about ease or shortcuts. It is about sacrifice, loss, and responsibility. When immigration is discussed only in abstract terms, all of this disappears. And it is precisely these stories that explain why most immigrants want just one thing: to contribute, to live with dignity, and to honor the people they've left behind.
That's beautiful. And who wouldn't? Who would not appreciate that?
Yeah.
And I think, this goes back to the episode we did last year on immigration, that immigrants are absolutely important to our being as part of the United States. We were all immigrants. So I don't think that there is ever a time where anyone would say that we don't want immigrants. And I think that person is right when they say it's too bad that they're painted with this broad brush of some bad immigrants are then,
Right.
making it bad for everyone.
Yes.
And people who come here legally are absolutely part of the backbone of our society. It's the ones who have come illegally that we've got to do a better job of changing the system. Because as we talked about this in our episode last year, we have some, very dear people to us that are here illegally. And I can't fault them for wanting to America is the greatest place in the world. Of course people want to come here. They probably appreciate America more than those of us who were born here. We take it for granted. We take it, we're that, that this is the greatest country in the world. It was such a great letter because I think it really makes everybody understand that we are a fantastic nation and people want to come here. And we've got to be able to treat each other with dignity and respect so that we can continue to be a really good nation. Because right now, man, we suck in a lot of ways.
I agree, Jolene. And the other thing I wanted to share with you, and I might cry. It literally happened 2 hours ago. I'm in Utah right now. I just got back yesterday. And we have this lovely woman and her husband clean our house. It's a husband and wife team. And on Monday, I was in New York and I got a text from their daughter. And she said, could we please talk? I said, I can talk to you right now. So she called me. She said, so my dad got the letter last October, and I hadn't seen her dad, so I knew things were a little, it didn't make sense. There was a couple things that was happening that I didn't understand what was going on. There were other people coming with the woman that has been cleaning our house. And she said, my dad got a letter in October, and so he left, and I just had a baby and was going through postpartum, and it's really hard, and we thought my mom would have more time, and she just got the letter. And I was like, and I was like, what's, and the letter, I guess, is the self-deportation letter. And she said, my brother and I are scrambling. I'm a citizen. My brother's on his, working towards his way to be a citizen. And we want to save my mom's company so that she could come back and still have it. She's been here for 20 years, her mother. She was basically asking, would you still continue to work with us? And I was like, of course. Long story short, 2 hours ago, sorry. The woman who we've been working with for 3 years came. She had 2 women that were going to take her place that I met, and we just held each other. And I said, are you okay? And she said, I'm okay. I said, are you going to try and come back? She said, yes. I said, when do you leave? She said, Tuesday. And I said, okay. And I just kept hugging her. And I said, we are here for you. Whatever you need, we are here for you. And she was just calm. And I, as you know, I'm a sensitiva, and I think I have felt all the feelings I could feel. I've never felt this feeling. I don't know what the word is. I understand the nuance. I understand she crossed the border illegally. I understand that she created this life for 20 years. She has friends. She has community members. She's done some good, but she's still not a citizen. I applaud her for going back on her own, for wanting to be here, for doing whatever she could now to be here. I felt all the feels. It was just the most, and I thought how wild life is, and how wild that she came to hug me, and like 45 minutes before you and I were going to record this episode.
Wow. And
I just thought, oh my gosh, please be safe. Just like there was a feeling for me of like, get out of here. Like, get out of here fast. I don't want you to be arrested so that you can't come back. Like you've been given, like, I don't know how this works. I don't know when you get a letter, do you? Like a self-deportation letter, how much time you have? I don't know. Yeah. Like, is it like, okay, you've got 24 hours, you've got a month, you've got a week. And for her, the most important thing was that her clients felt okay, that her clients wanted, like, here we're meeting these new staff members who are citizens, who will continue to keep her company going while she goes through the process. It was like all of it was such a wild experience.
That is crazy.
Right? And I'm just like, please, because as we've seen that there are people that they've gone to show up to immigration and they get arrested. So I feel like all bets are off right now. And there was a moment, and maybe it's just naive, and maybe like watching Tom Holman's press conference today, that maybe there's going to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more reason, a little bit more humanity. I can't believe I'm saying this with him, but I'm just sort of like, okay, like something's got to give. Something's got to give. We've got to start talking to each other. We are Americans. And I believe that she's an American. And I want her... Sorry. I want her to be able to come back legally.
Yeah.
And what a relief that might feel to not be afraid to be in this country. So there's that.
Wow. Holy cow. I think this was a tough, we knew this was going to be a tough conversation, and we knew that it was going to be emotional and it was going to be rough, and we were going to have to, talk about things that are just so rough to talk about right now. But again, that's why we're doing this. We have got to talk about it.
And I appreciate, Jolene, that you introduced this and you talked about what did you say it was? The moral?
The moral absolutism.
Yeah, it's so true. We can't survive under that umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, humans are not absolute. We're super flawed and super messy. And so is this country. It's always been. Democracy is hard. Democracy is hard fought. It's messy.
Well, I just also think we have to be able to take each situation as it comes. I mean, we're smart people,
yeah.
And we've got feelings and we've got brains, most of us. And I mean, we should be able to think for ourselves and say, God, that doesn't look right. That doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem right. And say it.
Yeah.
Instead of towing the company line, the party line.
And not being afraid that if you say what you feel that you're going to be bullied or shamed or kicked out.
Or canceled. We can do it, y'all.
We can do it. Do you have a good for the soul, my dear?
My good for the soul is this Instagram handle, Basic Optimism. And it's just a person. As I look into it, it's just a person who is trying to do good in the world. And I'm like, okay, good for you. It's not an organization. It's not a political action committee. It's just a person. And so basic optimism, that should be easy.
They say, what you'll read here sounds insane. That's because the West lost common sense, and we're here to bring it back.
Amen.
There you go. I have a quote to share, and then I have a website to share. So the quote was from Josh this morning. He did a meditation this morning, and he came out and he said that the meditation said, quote, "We were not designed to know about all of the suffering in the world," unquote.
I have seen that a lot lately, that our brains, I think we've said this before, our brains can't take this 24-hour news cycle of all of the things that are happening in Iran, and in Venezuela, and Greenland, and Minneapolis, and, name it,
mm-hmm.
and that we're not meant to take it all on. I love that.
Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight, and I will put it in the show notes. So, as you know, Jolene, Josh is a big jiu-jitsu person. He's been practicing jiu-jitsu for years and years and years. I want to shout out to a website called tapcancerout.org. And when in jiu-jitsu, when you are, I call it cuddling, but they're rolling.
I don't think they'd call it cuddling.
And if it gets too rough, you tap, and then it stops. Like if it's too much, it's a tap, right? So, Tap Cancer Out is a jiu-jitsu-based 501c nonprofit raising awareness and funds for cancer-fighting organizations on behalf of the grappling community. We do this primarily through hosting the most philanthropic fundraising tournaments in the world, but also through direct donations and merchandise sales. Since 2012, we have supported 25 beneficiary organizations, including the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the St. Baldrick's Foundation, the Pancreatic Action Network, Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, and they have raised $9.15 million so far.
Oh my gosh.
So I wanted to highlight them because it's near and dear to Josh's heart, which that means it's near and dear to mine, which probably that means it's near and dear to yours, Jolene.
It's near and dear to mine
so
as well.
It's tapcancerout.org, and I will also put it in the show notes so that you can check out their organization.
Oh, that's nice.
Would you rather?
Would you rather watch Josh in a jujitsu? God, I always get that wrong. Jujitsu.
Yeah.
God, he always tries to help me with that too. Okay, here we go. Would you rather watch Josh in a jujitsu match? Match?
Yes.
Is it a match?
Sure.
Okay. Or your father
Oh my God.
run a lap around a track? Bob?
Well, listen, I walk around the park with Bob a lot. We always have enjoyable walks. Listen, and
No, but he's got to run. He's got to run a lap.
Oh Jesus, that would give me a heart attack, I think. And I've seen Josh compete a long time ago, and it was really exciting. And now, he just earned his purple belt last weekend.
I saw that on his Instagram.
So I think I would be really excited to see him roll, as they say. I think I'm going to choose that because listen,
Okay.
Dad, I love you so much, and I'm happy to take a walk with you. But if I saw you run, I would just my heart would be in my mouth.
Just a jog.
He's 85 and a half. Like, seriously.
He could do
I know
it.
he could do it. I know he could do it.
I don't have any
I have faith in you.
doubt that he could do it.
But still.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
jiu-jitsu. Let's keep it with jiu-jitsu today.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right. Would you rather have the ability to see 10 years into your own future or 6 months into the future of the world?
Oh. I'm going to have to go with 6 months into the future of the world because then I could win the lottery.
Wow.
And my 10 years into the future would be completely different. I mean, that would really, if I could just win the lottery.
Listen.
Money solves everything.
That is so funny, Jolene, that you were able that you took that. I mean, I also
Right? Wouldn't you solve all your problems if you could see 6 months? If you could see the world in 6 months,
You know me, kumbaya. I was like, oh my God, 6 months in the world because then we can maybe solve some stuff. We can.
Right? Oh yeah, there's that too. It wouldn't just be my personal gain. I guess I would
Exactly.
want to, do some other things too.
Listen, that's why we make such a good friendship. We are totally opposite.
That is true. That is true.
We challenge each other to look at the other side
Absolutely.
and laugh along the way, which is just it's like that's like the
100%
frosting, girl.
Yep. I agree. Thank you for having this tough conversation.
Thank you. I was a little anxious, but I knew I was confident with all these, 50 plus episodes that we were going to dive deep and handle it with grace and kindness and
Yep.
really encourage our listeners and viewers. It's hard. What we're doing is really hard, and we know it is. This is not an easy ask. This is not light. It's hard. It's worth it. It's so worth it.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Listener and viewer, for tuning in. We appreciate you sticking with us and listening to our opinions and our views. And we hope that you get the chance also to have these conversations with someone that maybe you don't see eye to eye with. Have these tough conversations in a loving, respectful, and curious way. So thank you for following us. Please follow and
subscribe.
Like us and subscribe
and share with a
comment. Share with your friends, share with people you don't know, just share it all over because that helps us.
Yeah. And it helps. It helps.
We appreciate
hopefully, the world.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, doll.
Thank you.
I'll see you on the other side.
Bye-bye.
We've Got to Talk is produced across the world by the wildly talented, creative, and hilarious team at Bambi Media. Our theme song is Jump Jive Swing by Space Train Unlimited. Thank you so much for listening, and join us every week for another episode of We've Got to Talk.